fingers to the bone. I never get to go home. This is my ever wanted life, manifest destiny. I work my fingers to the bone. I never get to go home. This is my ever wanted life, manifest destiny. Damn, I destroyed myself, but you contributed. I destroyed myself, but you helped. I destroyed myself, but you contributed.
Hello, everybody. This is Johnathan Grissom with Morebands Media and the Local Earshot podcast. Today we are here with Wilson is in the house, so he's just hanging out.
What's up?
Yeah, and Gentry Counce. How you doing today?
Great. I just noticed you have Scott Miles singing on there.
Yeah,
That's his original song.
I owe him a lot of royalties. No, he said I could use his music for the podcast. We've been using his song for
That's a really good recording. I have not heard that recording. That sounds
he has like 3 other songs that are recorded. Really good. Really good. Yeah,
nice.
Scott's
a good
awesome,
song.
dude.
That's a really
awesome
good song.
Dude. Great music. So, and he does a lot of the open mics, so he gets a lot of eyes on a lot of different people because he does all that.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Let me see. So, just kind of starting now. Are you a Oklahoma native?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I also grew up in
here?
Nashville too.
Okay.
And then I was on the road with my sisters a lot, so I got to do a lot of traveling young.
Okay.
But I went to the 7th grade here. That's when I went to Nashville.
Okay. And you were there for how long?
I was there probably about 15 years.
About 15 years. So you've been all around the music scene in Nashville.
Yeah.
And
I also lived in California and also Austin, Texas, but I decided to move back to Oklahoma, move back home.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I mean, it's one of those places that has the ability to bring you back here for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
It did the same thing to me, and I think it did the same thing to him. And
it's a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my uncle, he is a local musician too, and I just thought I want to be like my Uncle Buck. I do have an Uncle Buck.
So usually
Buck
the story goes like the reverse is what we always hear. Is that a lot of times in Oklahoma, there's a lot of talent here and a lot of good artists, but then they get kind of annoyed with the scene and not growing, and then they're like playing these like smaller gigs and stuff. So they just pack up and leave. And they go to places like Nashville or California or Austin because they're trying to grow and become bigger. Yeah, my sisters were a duet, and so I was always in their shadow, and I got to go on the road with them. They got to open for George Jones, Glenn Campbell, Jose Feliciano, Confederate Railroad. There's a lot of really fun things that they got to do. They got to go to the Panama Canal and sing for the troops, and when they gave back the canal back to the Panamanians. But it was, growing up in that scene, I was a musician before I moved to Nashville, and I played violin. And so I ended up picking up the guitar, and then everybody told me it's all about songwriting in Nashville. And then I put a band together there when I was about 19, and then I decided I'm going to be my own artist and have my sisters sing backup for me. But yeah, I just decided to be an artist. And then when I realized that I want to be like my uncle, and I was like, I think I could be an artist like my Uncle Buck. And so I moved back to Oklahoma and started just wanting to be a local musician. Awesome. So about how many years have you been because I think this album that you showed me, it's like says 2018 on that one. How many recording when you started doing that side of it?
I wrote those songs when I was a teenager. I think I was about 15. Good Girl Feeling Bad is actually one of the first songs that I had written. And when we listen to it, every time that I listen to my own music and listen to that recording, I always think about the first time I heard a band record my songs and to hear the dynamic of what I had had in my head for so long. And so that was just a magical moment, and I was just hooked from that moment on. And so I decided I wanted to just continue to create something that made me that happy, that felt that good. So I just continued to songwrite, and I was just addicted.
Do you just stick to because I think he was saying it was like a kind of a country rock style, or do you do other styles of music,
I want to do a lot more. I want to grow into. I mean, when I listen to the radio, I just listen to probably heavier stuff, even rap, and I'm just just listening to. Or mainly like the old school kind of rap, and sometimes when I hear stuff and the soul and stuff, but I try to stay true to my voice, and what I can pull off.
So it is fun to get up. Some people think I'm just like a little like coffee shop singer, but when they see me with a band, or if I get up and do an open mic or an open jam, people get to really see how diverse I can be. I think I have a pretty good range. I can sing. I'm an alto, but I can belt pretty hard too. So I feel like as long as I'm in pitch, I'm good. And I just like to also work with other musicians and be able to see if I can lead them. And so that's the reason why I really wanted to learn how to play guitar, is so I could lead a band and lead other musicians and get up in any situation and
do you have like set band members that you work with, or are you
not really? It just depends on what the money's like and who I can afford and who's available.
So a lot of hired guns, basically.
Yeah, and that's why it's fun to host open mics or even just go to them and then support the scene and be able to not only introduce myself but get to know who all these other amazing people are, like Scott Miles and stuff. So.
Yeah, I know on our show we follow a lot Nikki Jackson, which you might know, I don't know, and then Megan Marlene, and that's kind of some of the artists that we've had on. And
girls, there's a lot of female musicians out there, and that's also fun to get to see these other girls playing and collaborating with other people and stuff. And
yeah, I know Brad Biggs that does 13 Stepstone Solutions. He's working with Nikki Jackson to possibly put on a show that's mostly driven female vocalists and singers, songwriters, and then also ones with bands. And so it's just supposed to be like an event that's dedicated to actually showing the music of Oklahoma that's coming from our female side, because like a lot of times. Our industry is kind of male dominated in a lot of ways out here, I guess, and so they want to kind of show that that there is another side of it, and I mean, and it makes sense because I mean, Leanne Rimes and then Reba McEntire and like all these other famous people, they all came from Oklahoma, so a lot of the female vocalists and stuff,
Carrie Underwood,
yeah. So I mean, it's definitely one of those things that in this state we have a big scene for music, especially in like your singer songwriter acoustic artist. Do you primarily play acoustic shows, or do you do like electric or?
I mainly do play acoustic rhythm guitar. That seems to be something I can really lead people with. I can really show them what I'm doing. As well as knowing what I'm doing. But I will pick up an electric guitar, but I just don't really like to play rhythm on an electric. But if the band wants me to do that, that's fine. I can do that. I want to practice more. I want to get to where I can be like a one-man band, like Hosty, how he just has like all of his equipment with him, and he has these loops and then he layers live and all these things. And so those are things that those are learning curves that it would be so fun for me to actually do. But I think that I'm most comfortable just me and my guitar. But when the money's there, or if they want a band, then I can provide that. Usually it's easier for me to work with a trio than it is with a full-on band. And so if it is like full-on band, then I'd like to get a couple of rehearsals in and try to guide them a little bit better. But also that's why doing open mics, open jams, being able to see, can I lead these guys? Can they understand me? Can they figure, am I being a good leader up here? And having that confidence is definitely something I think I've mastered a little bit. That's mostly what I've probably been working on when I do perform locally or get out there and support others, is can I hang with these guys? Can I be able to hold my own up here? And I think that's the kind of the training that I'd gotten from Nashville, because when I was learning from band members of my sisters. And so they were willing to teach me. And so I just kind of think these are just like my buddies that I used to jam with in Tennessee. So Yeah.
But so many of them are jealous of you, Gentry.
Yeah, right.
So, so what venues do you primarily play, or that you have played, or that you like to play?
I just play the casinos and the clubs, and I try to play like more fairs and things like that. Anytime there's a festival, I try to be a part of. But really, anything that I can get my hands on, I will perform at a restaurant, a coffee shop, mainly bars. It seems like, but even sometimes I will go to my local cafe and say, "Can I play here on Sundays?" and make some tips, and I can make a pretty good, decent, amount, mainly because of the support that people that they give, the people that do support local live music. And I don't want to always be performing because I am getting paid to do it. I had, for the first year that I got out in Oklahoma and started to perform, I played anywhere that would have me, and I didn't care if I got paid. And I tried to, my goal was to sing every day that year somewhere. So 365 days that year, I went out and found somewhere that I could play. Or if I couldn't, then I would ask somewhere local, or I would even street musician or something. But I made sure that I was getting out there, and I did a lot of free work. And that second year, I was like, okay, I'm only going to play the places that pay me. Mm-hmm. And then I decided, now that I'm pregnant, my time's more valuable, and I'm like, I'm only going to play for what I ask. And so I just, kind of weigh my options sometimes, but really at first, I was like anywhere and everywhere that would have me, because I wanted it. But then when, COVID happened and all those things, I still was trying to get out there and perform, mainly because there's a lot of people that were canceling, and I was just like, yeah, the show must go on. But I was not afraid of COVID. I was getting out there and was,
I don't think we really
I was kind of
either.
I don't want to offend anybody, but I just, feel like I wasn't going to let anything get in the way of music and art.
You figure that the risk of actually performing versus the risk that was out there is about the same, it's gonna like the way that I looked at it was not the most popular way to look at it, but I worked in I was a security guard during that time frame, and whenever we started the show, and I used to watch empty properties, but one of the jobs that I was doing was mask enforcement at Sam's Club. And so I looked at it as I was being exposed to it every single day. And if it was going to happen, I was going to get sick, which I did, but that was after I was vaccinated, so I don't know. But I got sick once, and then after that, never got sick again. But that whole time frame, we were doing the show, and we were thinking, we're like, well, maybe like these artists won't want to come into a studio and do a recording, because the problem was all the venues shut down. So then we were just like, well, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, there's always something to be done.
Yeah,
I was like, I think I did go into the studio and did some recording,
and that's what a lot of people did. And so we kind of did the opposite, where we just started reaching out to artists, and we were like, hey, you want to come hang out and just like play us some music and just chill and talk about music. And a lot of artists were really open to it, and it blew my mind, because all these people were saying that all these people were afraid of COVID, but all these music artists, it's like honestly, if you've been exposed to some of these microphones inside a venue, you can handle COVID. Those microphones are disgusting. So I mean, but I mean that was my whole thing, was that like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and so it was just get out there and just do your thing. But then a lot of venues, when they started to open back up, they would have like their rocky things. I think even Wilson over here went over to a venue, and I think he got COVID because he went to the venue that night, right? That one story that you...
Yeah, I went to the deli in Norman to see Alex Reardon when he was playing because I hadn't seen them before, for Biscuits and Groovy. I don't know if that's still the band that he's with right now. But yeah, we just all went around shaking hands. Nobody cared.
even thought about the fact that wear a mask or anything like that, really.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I asked the guy at the door. He's like, it's fine.
Yeah. And we used to go to this little bar called Triples. And it was one of the only bars open in Oklahoma City. And so, like, me and, like, my roommate now and our friends, we would, like, just go over to this little bar. But it was a country bar. And so, like, and so it was fun. It was definitely not the scene that I normally hang out in. But I was like, hey, it's at least I can get a drink, and enjoy myself and stuff. And then the first time I actually, like, hung out in a bar, though, was when they first started opening things. Was a bar restaurant was a Henry Hudson's, because you could finally actually, like, have a burger and just have a drink and stuff when they finally allowed all that stuff to open up. So that was one of the very first places I went to eat, because I was like, oh, I can sit down and eat and have a beer and actually relax and everything.
I think when they put everybody in the first lockdown, my band and I were like, let's get together and jam. And we went live on Facebook, and I think we upset a lot of people. And they were just like, what are you doing?
And
I think one guy had a mask on, but we just wanted to get work done, and we just felt like we all have time now. Let's get together and let's make this music happen. So.
Well, and if you're gonna,
nobody got sick. I don't.
No, and if you're gonna be around those people all the time and stuff, that's what you tell people. If they ask you and they're like, if it ever happens again, knock on wood, whatever, any object can hear this wood, because, like, I don't want to go through another pandemic. But if it ever happens again, like, I don't think most people are going to lock down the same way. But on top of it, it's like all the people that actually hung out with each other on a regular basis anyway, they were all like, well, like, how are we going to practice? And some bands, they separated, and they just, like, they were playing online through these apps, and they were just, like, working together online. Whereas then the artists, like what you're talking about, like what you guys did, was just, like, just say, screw it, let's meet up and just do the show. And if somebody gets sick, well, then then we'll just work through it, and then keep on going, because that's really the only way that you can. I mean, a lot of movies were still making, our films were still working during the pandemic. They just had to figure it out. They had to do all the tests and all the checks on everybody when they came in the room, make sure they weren't running on temperature or anything. And so then they were like, okay, we're good. And then they just start playing music or, doing film. And so, I mean, that's the only way I look at the pandemic when it comes to entertainment, was that, and a lot of artists did the live thing. A lot of artists, they did the individual thing. A lot of famous people did it. I mean, to SNL, they made a ton of shows where they were working from home. So they were literally doing skit work.
Yeah.
Like what TikTok or whatever. I think they even had an episode of SNL where it was straight up TikTok. Like, it opened up on the episode screen, and it looked like a TikTok screen on your TV, and you were just watching TikTok videos for like an hour, and it was just their skits. But even then, they were getting together. If you pay attention, like, they were in the same room together, and it's because they worked together. So it's like what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They don't, like, the risk.
And there were still some companies that were still having their employees, all work together. But I mean, I remember my boyfriend. I mean, he was just always working, never stopped, just continued to work. But that's the oil field. I don't know why that was different from everybody else, but I was like really surprised that he was the only one that did not have to not work from home.
Yeah, the one that I was really surprised about was construction workers. Like, construction workers don't get close to each other when they're working.
Yeah.
Yet they shut down every single road project in the one time frame where the roads were totally empty across the entire country. They could have rebuilt every highway in America over the pandemic, and in that 3 years, we would have, like, the most glorious highways in the world. But instead, they shut down every project by the Department of Transportation, and it's like, what were you thinking? These people don't even get 6 feet near each other half the time. Like, they're literally working on equipment away from each other, the whole time. So I don't know. But yeah. So after the pandemic, did you you just started like playing gigs again and just started?
I actually felt like I was playing even during. I got asked to play private parties, events, and I was filling in for venues that would still continue to stay open. I do remember JJ's Alley asking me to perform for them during the pandemic. So I just felt like it was probably got more work almost even during the pandemic, but it was slowing down for me before the pandemic, and then it picked back up during, and then I just kept going, and then I started working for Box Talent again after the pandemic, like a year after, when I realized that they were booking again. Mm-hmm. But but that's the reason why, because I was one of the only ones that would get out and play and perform and agree to, do it anyway.
Okay. And just kind of changing up a little bit, going to the actual like album side, so then we can fade into like actually playing some music. Yeah, just like vibrations. Okay.
Well, real quick, I want to say, like, one of the things that I admire about you guys in particular is that you have a very, like, show must go on kind of mentality when it comes to actually, like, because I have been on a few other podcasts before. I've started a couple with my friends, and it's just, like, some of them led to nowhere either because of drama or because of scheduling conflicts or, something like that. So the fact that you guys, because the show did continue on even with COVID on for both of you. And it's really crazy how so many people give up so easy, or they just see it as something so problematic, when in reality that's the whole point of like performing or putting something together, is that you just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, kind of give up a little bit too easily. And I don't mean to say that for like anybody in Oklahoma in particular. I know that like if you want to find, people who want to be more serious about it, you go to places like Nashville or you go to places like Austin. But this is like one of the few podcasts that has actually continued, despite an actual, possibly world-ending kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and a big part of it, too, had to do with that I'm not, like, personally, I don't look at it as I'm not held to myself in this. I'm not, like this isn't, like like we talked about the last episode, I think that you were on with me, like because I did one in between that's coming out this week, that like I'm held to the artist and I owe it to them, and it's not about like it's like I could have even whenever this stuff happened recently, I could have shut it all down. I could have said, hey everybody, like I'm gonna shut down the groups, all this kind of stuff, but like the amount of even the small growth that we've seen. I mean, my post reach 3,000 people a week. If that means that I share a flyer to a show, and even 3 people show up, 10%. Or 30. I guess 10%. That 33,000 people, whatever. It'd be probably higher, like 30 people. But I mean, as long as a percentage of those people show up to a show, even one. That's one more fan. That's one more person coming into that show for that artist, and actually like promoting them and helping them and getting them to where they need to be. Because like I think there's groups online that a lot of people need to know about, and I'll mention it again because I mentioned it on the last episodes, that there's a group called Band Together, and it's kind of a neon looking logo on their thing on Facebook. They have these posts, and they're called harvesting posts. And the idea behind it is that Facebook does not allow you to... They want you to pay to play. They want you to sponsor. They want you to do these things. So then whenever you're scrolling, you'll see sponsored by, and then you'll see a post. And you'll see meme posts, or you'll see shit posters, you'll see whatever. But a lot of times you'll see music artists, and it's because they're paying for people to see their stuff. Because if you've ever checked your numbers, it's like, 5 people saw your post. Yet you'll do a stupid post with a meme, and suddenly you'll say, 150 people of your group saw your post. Mm-hmm. People are using tactics now, and I think Facebook are going to start banning those tactics because of it. They did the same thing to podcasting. Whenever we were doing the podcast, and Facebook about a year in decided to allow podcasting on their platform, we uploaded our show right away. We're like, oh, I'll add the feed to it. So I did it, and we were getting, on those episodes, we went from less than 150 people at the time listening to the show every week to over 3,000 people over a course of 3 months. Mm-hmm. And it was like the numbers just shot up out of nowhere. And it was like, it was high numbers every single week. And it was because Facebook is where people are at. And so it was putting it in front of them. And then Facebook decided that the infrastructure was too hard for podcasting for them to get in the game. So they just cut their feed, didn't tell any of the podcasters, just cut their feed and dropped it. And then suddenly our numbers went right back down. And we had to grow from there and up there. And even then, you know, our actual listening base is only in the hundreds, even 3 years later, yet our reach is in the thousands. So
I wonder why some artists are big, because I sit there and think, you know, if they would put a local artist like in Oklahoma, somebody up, and just put it out there, they would be just as successful and just as popular if they had those same exposure as these people. And it is, I believe, all money. And it's
and they
some
say
people
it about
are
some
like,
artists.
oh yeah, it's because her songwriting and because she's, you know, a female songwriter. And it's like, okay, but
yeah, but those pop singers have a lot of ghostwriters.
So is Dolly Parton, and so is you know, all these you know, Amy Winehouse, but they're not really getting the same, like, oh, she's a songwriter, you know, it's type of thing. So it's just, I don't know. I just think it is all exposure, and that's the reason why I will perform anywhere and everywhere and do it for free. And I probably shouldn't do that anymore. Probably should, because that kind of hurts everybody when we're playing for pennies, and when we should up our numbers and say, no, we're worth $100 an hour, or I believe more, but at least, you know, $100 an hour would be really nice. But it is being good. You got to be good, and when you have, when I see all these other artists that are these amazing artists, and I tell them, oh, I enjoyed your set, and they're like, oh, this isn't really what we do, and I'm like, oh, I know what you do. I know how big and how good that some of these people can be, you know, but they're kind of have to cater to the audience and cater to their venue, instead of really do all that they can do. And but yeah, it would be so amazing to see where some of our local people could be if they had the same exposure and the same money behind them, same backers.
And some artists here, some people say that they have people behind them, and I've seen them work, and like, you know, and they do it, but like they do it, a lot of it they do themselves, but they have support, they have family members, they have people with skills that believe in them, and so like, and that's the thing, is that like there's a band like Before that plays, you know, the Diamond Ballroom, plays big venues, playing big shows, and all these people are like, well, obviously they have, you know, they're behind them. No, one of their artists, or one of their members, is a abstract artist, so he takes the money from his art to pay for it. Like there's another
and
artist.
sometimes you have to do those things that you don't want to do. And one of the things, for example, for myself, is that I don't have a TikTok, and I don't really try to boost those numbers up, and that would extremely help me to even branch out of Oklahoma and be able to perform and out of state, or to travel, or to make a mini tour. And those things are holding me back, but it's again, it's like, am I really have enough material for that? Do I, you know, and all those things, but those things grow itself because of the exposure that TikTok has. And it's like not really just the money behind you, but selling your soul and having to do shit like that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is that like these? So there's these harvesting accounts, and what they do is that they create a page, and then they have a comment section, and they'll say a post something like what I wrote, which is, it takes a village to promote local music. Drop your links, link, share, and follow, right? And then suddenly, I have hundreds of artists loading these comments with their Spotify links, with their follows, their pages, and I'm going through and I'm just like clicking and clicking and clicking to every single one of them to follow them, because the rule of the group is that you follow back, and that's how you grow organically. That's how you have to now. right? Like you have to do these like things, but the problem is it's tedious, it's long, and you sit there for hours doing it. Like you're just sitting there like there. So when my downtime is literally spent on my phone, sitting there going through these posts and just doing this stuff all day long.
And time is money, and that's another form of money, of having the resources to do that.
Yep.
And that's
if I had the money, I could pay somebody to do that for me.
Yeah,
I could literally pay an assistant to sit there and do that for me all day. Like,
yeah,
hey,
I mean, even the setup right now,
Jamie,
the sound, the audio,
right?
The lighting, having to do every tedious little thing just for this podcast. When I set up for a show and I have to do my sound check and I have to run my own sound and I have to make sure my guitar is tuned and that, and if I have good lighting and all those things, and it's just takes a village, and when you have to wear all these hats yourself, and I'm forgetting about, and I really need to practice. I really want to grow as a musician and as a songwriter, and so instead of it just being business all the time.
Yep. And that's the hardest part that I've noticed, because I mean there's a lot of tools out there that can do a lot of your social stuff together, but I am noticing, because even with the getting into video and stuff that I'm trying to do right now, is that there's a lot of that goes into all this, and a lot of times when you see all these people online, they say, just like all these famous people and stuff, they'll say just grab your phone and start recording, and I get that. That's one way.
I don't like it when other people record my show live.
Yeah.
I'm just like, could you?
Because that's the slight issue. There's it's a double-sided sword, because it's free publicity. Yeah. But then if they mark you and they actually do those things, but the problem is that half the time, if I try to go Facebook Live with this podcast and I start playing your music, there's a possibility that you have you probably have copyrights and stuff on your music, because you should, and it's going to block me. It's going to block that noise, but it's so stupid, because on Facebook I could put, I don't own the rights to the music playing, and then magically it will just start playing in the background for Facebook. So there's a lot of loopholes that people don't know about. At Everyone is one that I tried recently, and I literally put in the comments, when I put at Everyone in the comments, I put, I know people don't like this, but it's the only way I can get you guys to see it. And so I put at Everyone, and then that post hit, and more people listened to the episodes. It's a matter of like playing the game, but like these artists like before, they're out here making stupid videos. They'll make a video about them making fun of themselves. The rappers, the Steve Prophets, they do the same thing. They make these funny little videos, and these videos are getting big on TikTok and YouTube and all these different platforms. YouTube Shorts is now a thing, and so they'll get really popular, and then they'll go, oh, they also make music, and then suddenly they'll go to their page and they'll start listening to their music, and it's like I don't know how to navigate all of the music industry now, and that's kind of why I decided recently to go back to school, because I'm like I want to be around the modern day music industry people, the kids that are getting into it, and the teachers that are teaching it, that actually explain what the industry is like now. Because
it's always changing.
It's so geared,
it's always growing.
Yeah, and it's
always
geared
evolving.
So about social media. I mean, it's all about.
There's always
social.
something new that I'm just like, I got to do that too. Like, can I just promote my flyer on Facebook?
Yeah,
but I'm an old lady when it comes to any type of technology, and I just figured out how to do a mix on my own PA. So it's just like, how do we keep up with it? I mean, how can I, just keep up with it? And I think, well, I'll just let the technology advance, and then I'll get into it. But then when it's constantly growing, it's like, okay, I'm really behind. I really need to really get on this and make it a priority. But right now, I feel like I want to be a better musician. And when I see these artists that sometimes they have all this equipment and they have everything it takes, but I'm like, they're just slightly off pitch. And I'm just like, man, if they had a vocal coach, they could really, or maybe they are on pitch, but their tone is weird. And I probably should be a vocal coach or something. But I just, I see certain things that it's like, oh, these people are so close to being real entertainers. And I'm not trying to be like I'm this judgmental person, but I really want to see, I know what people are capable of. I know, but then I look at myself and I'm like, I'm really lacking in this area. And so it's, those balances that I would like to iron out right now is, am I still being an artist and still being a businesswoman? And those are just work and time and money.
It's a lot of work, and I think like one of the things that I really encourage, I was talking to a buddy of mine a while back. His name was Alex, and he was asking me like, "Hey man, do you think if somebody has like an inkling or like some kind of knack for something when it comes to performing?" Because he was talking about getting into acoustic guitar, and I said, honestly, man, it's like it's not just an honor or a privilege or anything. It's more like a obligation to yourself to pursue these kind of creative venues. Like a lot of people don't get into things because they think, oh, well, I don't want to record this yet until I have like this player, or I don't want to do that kind of venue until, I have like a bigger band together. And what a lot of people I think don't realize either is that, you want to try to record something first just for the sake of recording. Black Sabbath recorded their first album in the back of a meat truck over in the UK. I don't know if many people know that.
Oh, I thought about just buying an RV for the show,
yeah,
and parking at my mom's house and just making that the studio, because it's at least then I have a room that
right.
I can work in,
and you could take it just about anywhere,
yep.
Get away from whatever noise. And there's like a lot of people get held back from like just even starting and creating. And then there are people who openly joke about it. I think Cardi B made like some kind of offhand joke saying that she invested like $250,000 into the music industry to kind of like buy her way in, and everybody just kind of laughed it off. But it's actually true. You can just like buy your way in that way sometimes. It doesn't mean that it's like credible, and it doesn't.
And well, also people told me when I lived in Nashville, in order to make it there, you have to stay, and
mm-hmm.
I just did not want to live there.
Well, and they also say
wanted
like
to come
about,
and live here and do what I do here. And the way technology is today, it's just, I feel like it's all about material and having original material and having your own thing, and a lot of it. And I was going to add something else to
no, and I completely agree. And I know that like that's the way that a lot of people see it. I've been told like whenever I was trying to get into filmmaking, like, you just got to go out to California, man. You just got to be in California. That's the place to be. And then I had people tell me the same thing about New York and Atlanta. And like, sure, for somebody that knows anything on like the film and video side of things, it's easier to get work there. There was a time where I was willing to just take my laptop and just live out of my car and just be editing for a little while until I could actually get some regular studio work. I had a buddy of mine who said that he was writing for Jimmy Kimmel, that I later found out he got fired for like some inappropriate stuff, and so that didn't work out as far as getting to go out there. But I also didn't think that it was worth the time. Like you shouldn't have to go to certain places just to be making things, especially when it comes to something like as simple as production itself. Like in the setup that we have here right now, we don't have to be in California to do something like this.
No, and people are actually using less technology than what I am right now to do this. I mean, this is what you call I think it's like around $1,000 to $1,500 setup versus and it took time to do that. Each one of these mics were bought separately, like over time. They weren't like, I'm going to go buy 5 mics. It was like, I got to buy one mic at $50, and then I'll buy another mic next week at $50, or the next 2 weeks when I get paid again, I'll do this, and and it takes time, and I mean, and it's the same way with music. That's why I asked if you play multiple, like guitar, electric, whatever, because gear's not cheap, and that's why I always think it's interesting because I went to an event over the weekend, and kind of an example of what these artists go through, because I literally do it with one of these artists, Hollis band, Johnny Hollis. He needed a ride to Tulsa because he didn't know he was going to get there because his vehicle's not up to par to be able to do that distance, and makes great music. and he lives out in Mayville, in the middle of nowhere, like out in Oklahoma, and so he hit me up, and I picked him up from a church in Moore, Oklahoma, and we drove up to Tulsa. And a lot of people in Tulsa is always asking why I don't come to more shows in Tulsa, and I'll explain right now why I don't always make it up there. It cost me $30 in gas to go there. It cost me another $30 to pay for gas when I get back, because it cost me $30 to get there, and then I got to refill the tank. So it took me a tank of gas to get there, because my vehicle only gets about 250 miles to the tank. It's a Jeep Patriot, right? I'm bringing him to the show. We get to the show. The band members are there. Some other people are there. I don't know. Like the other bands, like the venue didn't really, I don't think really promoted. We all kind of promoted the best way we could. The bands kind of put out their posts and their flyers and all that stuff, and whoever saw it on Facebook, whatever. And over time, no one paid for sponsorship spots for those flyers to be seen. No one did event things. No one did physical flyers to go out to areas. It's everybody has jobs. These bands are like, they're all in their in our ages, like in your 30s and 40s, and 50s. They don't have time to sit there and be online all day like some of these younger artists can do all day if they're just in college or something, starting a band. Mm-hmm. And so, like, get there, and at the end of the night, they go to do the payout. $24 a person. $24. These guys have played Legends with over 300 people in the room. And they're in a venue that maybe had less than 15 to 20, 30 people in the room, and obviously the numbers kick that they were supposed to get a certain percentage of bar sales and door. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, a big portion of those members that were there were all part of the other bands. So the other bands are basically going to other band events, supporting each other, and that's part of it. But it's like they're supposed to all bring their crowds. And if they don't have a big following, then if you're playing with a band that doesn't have a big following, but yet you're a headliner, if you're not actively doing it yourself in that area, then you're not going to get paid well. And so, like, by the end of the event, we drove back. We get back to the church, and he goes, "Wow, man, like, how much do I owe you for gas, man? Like, thank you for taking me." And I said, "Dude, don't even worry about it." I was like, "You guys pay for my door fee. It was only $10. That's fine. I'm not gonna get stressed out over $15, $20 to the fact that you did not make any money, last night." But they had a great show. They played really well. I try to do Facebook Live with it, learning another factor about all this stuff. If you don't have a really powerful phone, your $1,000 phone, your $2,000 phones, and you don't have a great internet connection, you're kind of screwed. Because you can't do live feeds with a shitty phone, like the crackles and the background noise and all the stuff all sounds on those mics. Those specialty phones, like your S22, they have the same sound gates as any of those hardwares that you get from Zoom or any of this technology that I'm using here. Yeah. They have those sound gates. Mm-hmm. You don't have that in a cheaper phone, and most people are carrying cheaper phones.
Yeah, and just not having your own equipment anytime is always a headache. Anytime I have somebody running sound for me, I have to use their equipment. I get so frustrated. I would just rather bring my own stuff and EQ myself, because I want to shine, and if I feel like the mix is holding me back, and then a live recording of it on top of a poor mix, and there's so many people that believe in us, and so they want us, they want to help, but really it's kind of like, I really don't want you recording this live and posting it right now. I want, that's why it's important to have decent recordings and have stuff that's radio ready, and also like doing shows that might not pay well or might not have a good turnout. I think that's why it's so important to get out there as much as you can. And I've gotten in arguments with bandmates or whatever because they wanted some more money, or they didn't want to have to promote, or they didn't want to have to help sell tickets, or all sorts of things. But I just keep trying. I even did a variety show for a while, and I wanted to do burlesque, and I was hula hooping, and I wasn't completely stripping down, but it was a strip tease, and it was something that I thought would be successful. And I also sang with the band. I also featured other artists, but that took guts, and it took a lot of people that came out to the show. They were saying that it was very gutsy, I guess, of me to do these things, and I think that's another expense. And I really had to put myself out there and try it out and see if it worked. And if it failed, or whatever. But at least I was doing something. And even if it did take going all the way to Tulsa, I was talking to Leon Russell's son, his son Teddy Jack, and I'm really proud of myself that I know who he is. I have so much joy that I know him, and so I went to go see his show in Tulsa. And so he was asking me about my music, and I was telling him the struggles, and he had the same exact struggles that I did. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, this is Leon Russell's son. This is Teddy Jack. And he's telling me that he is having trouble having a good turnout and making sure that his band gets paid properly and on time and all those things. And here we think, as artists, we see the bigger picture. But then when we do have a crew behind us and that we're worried about, and I feel like I have created platforms for people, I've got them paid, and they still might say something behind my back to where I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that, But I've upset a lot of people, and I feel like I'm a pretty sweet, hardworking, honest, always been straightforward, and still it's like, you gotta put yourself out there, and hopefully some people can see the professional side of it. But I just noticed that's just business. And now that I'm working for a new restaurant and seeing how my bosses conduct their business, it's something that it's like we all have to work together and be a team and support each other and share light, and all those things.
And that's kind of the whole, thing behind it, of like why a lot of these people are moving that direction when it comes to social media. We're trying to figure out ways to game the system and the algorithm. That's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to teach it to the artists so that we can game the system, and actually get some eyes on some people. With that said, you want to play some songs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we got 2 songs here. We have Good Girl, Feeling Bad, and Get Your Dog, 'Cause I Ate Your Bitch. And these are on the album Build with Brick. And this is, what is that? Gentry, and then Counce. Yeah, Counce.
Yes, Gentry Counce.
I
That's all that counts.
Mess it up. I'm going to say it wrong. So
Get it right, John. Come on.
God, you've been here. You met this person 30 minutes ago.
Gentry Counce.
Gentry Counce.
Gentry Counce.
If you're in any city or surrounding the countrysides of Oklahoma, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's how you would say it. Gentry. All right, let's play this.
I'm just a good girl, feeling bad. He holds me right in the palm of his hand. But though he let go, he didn't know what he had. 'Cause I'm just a good girl, feeling bad. I'm not a wise, cracking dame, or a bombshell with the classic frame. The long, long road with sleepy eyes I'm a good girl, feeling bad. He has me right in the palm of his hand. Oh, there goes, he didn't know, but hey, I'm just a good girl. Feeling bad. He has me right in the palm of his hand. Though he let go, he didn't know what he had. I'm just a good girl. Feeling bad. I'm just a good girl, feeling bad. I'm just a good girl, feeling bad. You a dog, 'cause I ain't your bitch. Words might be surprising, I know you can't take that. Behind your scary growl, you're just a pussy cat. You're not an alpha, little bit, don't put me on a leash. I wanna pay your commands and you say sit, stay and speak. If you want someone to trade in this relationship, just get you a dog, 'cause I ain't your bitch. chain. I'll come and hold you while I play that game. You're not enough, baby. Don't put me on a leash. I won't obey your commands and you say and speak. If you want someone to train in this relationship, get you a dog, 'cause darling, I ain't your bitch. No, I ain't. I said I ain't. I ain't yours.
All right, Gentry Counce. Good Girl Gone Bad and
Good Girl Feeling Bad.
Or Feeling Bad, sorry. Good Girl Feeling Bad and Get Your Dog, 'Cause I Ain't Your Bitch. All on the album Build with the Brick. Awesome songs. The second one kind of had like a bluesy type sound to it to me.
Yeah, that whole 5-song EP that I did wanted them to kind of complement each other. I did all those recordings in Nashville, and I first did those recordings way back in the day, about 3 songs, and then I decided to finish it off with a couple of more songs and got back with Mike Elsner, who plays lead guitar on there, and he also helped to produce it, and he always gets a good vocal out of me, and so we finished up making it a blues kind of Americana style.
Yeah, I
all
definitely
those
heard
songs.
that.
So they all complement each other. And there's some funny, silly songs. I mean, that title, Get You a Dog, I Ain't Your Bitch, that's a funny title, funny hook, I guess. Then I have another song on there called Every Man Has Trouble with Their Women. And but there are also sexy songs on there. So there's one called Down and Dirty, and there's another one called Hard Love that was written by James Slater.
Awesome. So what are
I've heard that name before.
your plans inside the? Or do you want to do the management stuff? Do you guys want to talk about that, or do you guys want to?
I don't know.
stuff.
What was the question?
Well, because I know he wanted to talk about management stuff.
I did want to harp on the management side of things for a second. Like, there's so much, like, people are just such divas, and it doesn't even matter, like, what level of publicity you have. There are some people that are just so fucking full of themselves, and I'm not going to say any names. It's just, like, I've worked with so many people, especially, like, part of the reason that I got out of the film industry is because there's so many people that talk like, oh, I just know the director on, like, a personal level and stuff. Like, that kind of mentality where they think that they already know more than everybody else in the room, or that their art, for whatever reason, is better than what anybody else can make. But at the moment that you're working on a movie set with them, they just get, like, so frustrated and annoyed, and then they blame, like, everybody else for their problems, or, like, why their light isn't working, or why they can't get the camera correctly, and stuff like that. And it's not just limited to film. It's like that in a lot of other industries. And I know that you guys know that. Like, you've been in the military. You know how it is. Like, just even giving people simple commands.
We
like,
would do it in. I mean, if you think that working for Live Nation is, I mean, it's fun. It is a great time. It is awesome. Like, you get to work in venues, you get to work around music artists, you get to be around them every day. You get to do, like, you get to be around the fans and just see how fun they're having. Like, that's my favorite part, is just being in a venue watching all the people being happy, right? But what goes in to get there is some dude going, hey, grab that damn cable and plug it into that wall over there. And the guy's like, okay. And then they grab the cable and they plug it in. You know why? Because they have to be. It's a command level. It's a level. Now, understanding when to be that way and not to be that way is a skill. But
It is
but to understand that, like, whenever you're setting up, if you're in the way, get out of the way. If you're in a venue and and you're standing and they don't have any room to put the gear, so they put it all out among where all the people are standing and stuff, and you're in a bar and you're in the way, get out of the way. Like, they have a job to do, and they have to grab that gear, and they got to get it on stage. They got to get it set up in a certain amount of time, because they have to start playing at a certain time according to things that they agreed to with the venue. They have to be done within a certain amount of time. So the more time that they take setting up, the less time they get a set. And these bigger venues, especially companies like Live Nation stuff, they don't fuck around. If you wanna sit there and just jack around and stuff on stage, they'll fire you on the spot. They'll say, get out. Like, you don't need to be here. And I've watched it. I've seen it. I mean, my side was the event staff side, so like I didn't have to deal with that side. Or I was doing security for a little while. You know, I'd go in the back and do security for a music artist and just make sure that the fans stay where they need to be. Because like they'll try to get behind the tour vans and the back part of the venues. They'll try to get through the back doors. They'll try to do anything to get in to where these artists are. So I mean, every job has a process, and in music, like every position that you see in a venue, they all have their role to play, and the artist role is the most important. But the most important role, other than that, is getting them up there and making it sure that they have everything that they need so they can perform. And that's the key, is to be able to get artists to actually be able to perform. And they don't, like a lot of people don't really understand that. And so they'll be like, well, that manager's a real asshole. I don't like working for that guy. There's people that talk about recording studios like that. They'll say, well, you know, that guy was a real prick. But, man, did he really pull it out of me and actually get me to where I needed to be for that album to come out. And I never thought it would sound that good. And it sounded amazing. Like that is when you start hearing that. That's what I'm saying. It's an art form up there. And there's those people that are just utter complete dicks. There's a lot of artists out there that are like complete dicks. That's why they get that that marker of like singer being narcissistic, self-absorbed people. They don't ever, like, they always get that stereotype that they never grab gear, they never carry anything for their bandmates, they never do anything for their bandmates. Like you know, they get that persona because of the fact that there's a lot of them out there that don't do any of that stuff. They say, "Oh, I'm here to sing. I'm not here to work. Like, I'm here to do this. This is my job. That's my only thing." So they'll look at the drummer and be like, "Hey, your drum tech do your stuff," or have this, you know what I mean? And they'll just show up, or they'll even just show up to the venue right before the gig starts because they think that that's their only little thing, you know? And so, I mean, there is a lot of work that goes into it, especially in the local world, because it is all do it yourself. And so, I mean, you see that stuff a lot. And so, I mean, if you have a friend in the band and stuff, help them out. Like, you know, it'd be like, hey, can I grab something for you? Like, you know, help them out, like, to set up and stuff if they're open to it. Because, like, it's one of those things that some of them are not open to it because some of that gear is really expensive. Some artists don't like help because, for one, they're afraid that a stranger will walk up with their stuff. Obviously, they trust their friend. But mainly it's because some of their gear is like tube amps and like equipment like that, and if you even jiggle it the wrong way, you could mess up the entire setup.
And if you've done something a million times, it's like you kind of just have your system and you just, you know, I always tell people, I'll get it broke down and then you can help me carry it out.
and that's kind of what I do. I'm like I'll help you. I was like, I ain't touching nothing. I don't know how any of this stuff works anyway. When it comes to this side, you know, I'll probably learn some of that this semester. But yeah, like I'm very like, do you need help? Because if you tell me no, I'm just going to go over here and chill until the show starts. I'll work on my stuff. Go back to my beer.
Or I'll tell somebody, can you just tell them to turn the overhead music off because I'm getting ready to start. It's like kind of give them something I really don't like doing.
Yeah.
Or can you go get my check?
Right. Well, and you know,
Go get my
and
check for
like
me. That's
what
okay.
you're talking about, like during the break, where you were talking about people not getting paid, or like artists not getting paid right, and you know, before that, like there's I've heard a story recently, and it was like, yeah, Bill has your money, and the person goes, okay, well, I don't know who Bill is, and they were like, well, he's our accounting guy, he's like works in the back or whatever, right? So he's like, but yeah, he has your money, like, you know, and that's what the venue told them, and they were like, oh, okay, and then come to find out, Bill wasn't even a dude. They straight up lied to them. They never got paid. And they were like, "What the hell?" You know. And then I looked, you know, I when I was talking to them, I said, "Did you create a contract?" And they said, "No, it was the deal that we made with the guy to come play and stuff." And it's like, and now you didn't get paid, and now you're probably not going to get paid because he could act like that you never played there. Mm-hmm. You know, in court, like he could say that you didn't play up to par. You know, he can make up every excuse under the sun not to pay you now.
See, and that's what pisses me off, especially like not even just the local music scene. I've done like hand-to-hand business for a while, and just always doing handshake deals, and it never goes the way that people expect it to go. And I really encourage people to just get something in writing. Just try to be on the same page.
Yeah, to be on the same page mainly. Yeah. Not mainly for the whole being in court or having to legally do anything, but just make sure everybody's on the same page. That's why they put those. Can you put 100 green M&Ms on the coffee table and people go, oh, they're so pretentious? No, that just makes sure that they know that they read the contract. And
yes.
Right.
Yes.
So they know that you're on the same page, so they don't have to go, did you read the contract?
And people act like that's
it?
fake. I've literally been sent out to go buy like things like M&Ms and candy bars and certain types of sandwiches and stuff, like and worked with runners to go out to a store or whatever, or even to go to a liquor store and pick up certain types of alcohol for the back. So I mean, artists have their preferences and they have it in their contract. And what ends up happening when you get to that level is you have an artist manager that shows up to the venue and they talk to the management. And then the management talks to their staff, and that's how they control the level of like setting up the venue and getting it to where the artist wants it and how they want it set up. So when they show up, they can just go up there and not have to worry about performing. And so like if you have a good sound team, you have a good sound guy, whatever. But in the local side, you know, because of it being all yourself and being like, you know, just individuals. It is kind of hard because like we were talking about social and how like doing all that stuff online yourself and everything that I've seen recently. There are some artists or there's some people out here that are artist managers. They've been doing marketing for a very long time. They've been doing social media a very long time. They know what works in the algorithms. They know what to work with. They know how to work with venues. They do booking. They do promotion. They do production. They do all these other things. And they'll come to art. They'll come on a group and they'll in a chat or something and say, "Hey, I'm looking to add some more artists to my roster. I manage this many artists. Blah blah blah." And then you get these artists that will pipe in and be like, who needs an artist manager? I can do it all myself. If you want to keep on playing the stuff you're doing and the things you're doing at your level, go ahead. Mm-hmm. If you want to, like, and I say get it in contract and writing, obviously, with an artist manager, but if you want to make a good deal and just say, you know, hey, you'll give 10% or 15% to this person, but hold their feet to the fire to actually make sure that they're doing their side of it. Because I do say that too, like make sure that your artist managers are actually doing artist management stuff, but like let them, you know, like let them do the back work, let them do the backside because they know it, and let you do what you do best, do the music, you know. Mm-hmm. And I understand it's a cost thing, it's a money thing in the beginning, and so a lot of artists just have to do what they got to do. So,
yeah, and I think that
it won't,
you know, that people that do want to help manage. They really do believe in the art, and
I think that when I see myself hoping, man, I would pay, I'll give you 20% if you can book me. But I realized how many times I have helped so many other artists get bookings, mainly because I was like, I need a fill-in, or I know about this, or even getting another band member. I would get upset when a band member wouldn't show up and say, oh, just don't pay me. It's like, no, but somebody else could have made that money. And so it's all about us, I think, like, remembering it's art, and we got to be artists together instead of trying to not share or something. And so I could be like, hey, I'll book you here, but you need to send me 10% or 20%. And even when I have some people that say, hey, I booked you here, I need $25. I'm just like, really? Are you kidding me? And I'll still pay them $25, but I'm just sitting there thinking, like, that's just, that just shows that they're not about the art, that they are really about image and making money, instead of really, like, being an artist. And I even kind of think it's weird when I call myself an artist, because I'm managing myself, I'm booking myself, I'm running sound, I'm wearing all the hats, I'm doing the social media, I'm doing everything. It's more than just me being an artist. And so it's like, I'm a businesswoman. So it's like,
and that's how I think a lot of, your Nikki Jackson treats it that way. But she also has a music business degree now, like for associates.
And she has got a lot of original material. She's still true to her art. And that's where I feel like I need to balance out a little bit more and get back to being an artist. And I think me getting ready to have a baby and being able to teach my son how to play music or be involved in the music industry somehow is going to be really good for me too, to be able to learn as I'm teaching. And I just want to be better. I want to be good, That's all I care about.
Well, with that said, I think we're going to close out this episode. I think my cats are freaking out inside the bedroom. I hope they didn't destroy the door. So, because that's what they do. They destroy doors and carpets and everything else in the house if you don't give them what they want. So, the Local Earshot podcast, we run on the value for value system. That is time, talent, and treasure. We value everybody's time for listening. We know that there's a lot of podcasts out there and you could be listening to, and I'm glad that you chose to listen to the Local Earshot. The second T is talent. So if you are an artist and you want to be on the podcast, then reach out to me at john@thelocalearshot.com, or on any of our social medias, the Facebook groups, and just the Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. And normally I'm pretty good about messaging. I know I'll probably be getting busy pretty soon because I'm about to start going to school at ACM. So, but I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that are opening up with that. That possibly they said that I could even rent studios there to do the show if I wanted to, because I can rent time, and students get free time in those places to use it for their own arts. So, the third T is treasure. So if you want to donate to the podcast, you can go over to thelocalearshot.com. There's a tab that says donate. Take crypto, Cash App, Venmo, all of those little things that are turned into things that can produce money. All money that goes in the show actually goes to produce the show. So buying cameras or increasing production, and hopefully being able to either get a studio location or work with the studio to start recording episodes inside a studio again. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Wilson, for setting in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Gentry.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's Gentry.
Gentry. It's Gentry. Gentry. Gentry.
Gentry.
How do you say it?
Gentry.
Gentry. There you go. All right. Thank you.
Damn, I just told myself, but you